Should you just believe the best? Believe the best about someone else. Have you ever heard this phrase used? Is it something that you rely on and maybe say to yourselves or to other people? I want to talk today about how this phrase can become disruptive as something that does keep Christians stuck, hidden, or hurting, maybe all three. So I think the phrase comes from, let me read the scripture. I believe it comes from 1 Corinthians 13, the love chapter, what we all call the love chapter, verses 4-7. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It is not irritable, and it keeps no record of being wronged. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith, is always hopeful, and endures through every circumstance. I'm not sure if that's where most people are getting the passage, but I tried to research to see if there was other verses that people were using as a basis for this concept of believe the best, and I couldn't find anything. So if you are aware of different verses, let me know, and I will maybe do an updated video just to review that. When I think of this phrase, you just need to believe the best, I see it in the context frequently where someone has maybe a gut sense that something's off, or that someone is responding in a way that's very unkind, or maybe acting inappropriately. There's a sense that something's not good, and they maybe bring up that they have a question about it or a concern, or that they don't think that someone is acting right. And maybe someone else will counter that by saying, well, we just need to believe the best. So it can happen in a couple of different ways. Maybe initially someone is expressing what they're noticing and they're working through that and trying to identify what's going on, because it's a little confusing. When there's manipulation happening and gaslighting happening, it can feel very confusing and muddy. And so sometimes people will start to bring up the negative things that they see or the feelings that they're experiencing that aren't good. And another person in a Christian faith community tries to say, well, we just need to believe the best, because they're kind of like bypassing what this person's experience is to say, we just need to look at something that's good and believe the best. And I think there's also kind of maybe this other verses in the background of this that's like about not judging one another. But in an essence, by saying we just need to believe the best to someone who's processing and working through what they're noticing that isn't good, we're actually kind of making a judgment indirectly to this person over here, because by saying you just need to believe the best, there's an assumption or a message coming through to the other person that is saying that they're doing something wrong. That's the way the message can come across for some people. And by doing something wrong, because they're not saying something positive, they're not focused on just the positive thing or believing that that person has good intent and is a good person. Yet the person here who's wrestling and noticing and listening to their gut instinct, to their intuition to say, something's off here, that could be a spiritual nudge, letting them know that something's not right. Or it could be part of the way that your body is designed to send you signals when something isn't safe or okay. And we start to learn to discount that and distrust ourselves because other people are saying things like, you just need to believe the best about the other person. So now this person feels like they are not allowed to question, to have concerns, that they need to discount that it's even a possibility, because now they're probably wrong in their thinking process or just being judgmental. So again, because this other person is saying you just need to believe the best, or because that message is being pervasive and pervasively shared, this other person who's receiving it is getting the message that they need to discount their own feelings and that they're doing something wrong and that they're being judgmental. And maybe they're not. Maybe there's a sense that they just can't name yet. And maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But as they're working through it, they're trying to decide, is this bad? Is this dangerous? Is it okay? Maybe this person has had situations where it was not safe in the past, and another person is saying or doing something that is triggering the memory of what hasn't been safe in the past, but the other person is safe and okay. So their safety signals may be in highly engaged, on high alert, but they still need space to work through that to help identify without being shut down for having the gut check, the experience and trying to notice what that signal is telling them and why that signal is there. When we discount our safety signals and we deny their presence, we also end up being more likely to be in situations where we are going to be harmed, because now we're not responding to possible danger or emotionally unsafe situations that need a response, because we're putting ourselves into a position to tolerate more than we should, to believe that we're safer than we really are. There's just a lot of things that are happening when we're discounting our own signals. So this comment to believe the best, that's one scenario that I see playing out. Another thing that could happen is we have this as a mantra for the way that we live, possibly because you have learned to discount your own safety alarms going off or your own sense that maybe things aren't okay. In other scenarios, it could be that we're just naming what we see, and maybe it's positive or negative, maybe it's not. We're just naming the reality of something, and another person is saying, we just need to believe the best. Sometimes using this phrase, you just need to believe the best, or telling ourselves that we just need to believe the best, is a way of quickly shutting down any thoughts or observances or emotions that we think are not okay for the situation. Maybe there's not really a threat. Maybe there isn't something to be concerned with, but we're just naming what we notice. Sometimes the phrase just becomes something quick and easy to say and bypasses the reality of our experience or just honest expression about something that we're noticing. And it becomes another way of keeping us disconnected from ourselves. It keeps us disconnected from the reality of what we're experiencing. The reality is not everything is best. There isn't always a best outcome, and we actually need opportunities to face what is not good. We need to learn skills and become resourced in ways that help us face the truth of what is not good, whether it's with another person or in another situation. I think maybe this phrase can be helpful in some situations when we notice patterns in our own thinking and in our lives that lead us into a place of constantly focusing on negative outcomes or scenarios that could play out, but maybe really even won't, or these thought patterns that keep us focused on negative things. So believing the best maybe means for some people a reminder to look for the best. Maybe there's a message in there that says there is good to see and we can look for it. Maybe that's you. I don't know. Feel free to let me know. I wanted to share the ways that it can become problematic in the sense that it blocks us from being connected to the reality of our own experiences and to the safety signals, to our own instincts and the sense that we have been given by God, our God-given signals to notice danger. Now, those signals may not be in the proper setting. They may be in high gear and need guidance to be set into a place where we're sensing danger and safety cues in healthy ways. But by discounting it, it isn't helping. We're not learning those new ways. We're actually continuing to keep the altered safety signal operation in place. Does that even make sense? Because if you've been in a place where, for example, if you said something, somebody else rejected you, or they acted harshly, or they had demeaning words to you, your body starts to take in cues that that's not a safe situation. So maybe you start having that experience many, 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 many times, and now your safety signals are on high gear so that it seems like it's always going to be unsafe with other people. Maybe the slightest facial reaction, the tone of voice can indicate that to your body. So those safety signals need to be rewired. So maybe in that case, saying believing the best is a reminder that your safety signals have gone off kilter a little bit, and it may not be as bad as you think it is, or it may be safe when you think it isn't. The key here is to identify what is the motive, what is the meaning and the message of the phrase. How is that impacting you? Is it helping you or hindering you from being connected to the truth of what you're feeling and experiencing, the truth of your needs, the truth of what you're noticing, so that you can do something with that? Part of the growth path is that we take that initial awareness, we acknowledge that it's there, and we move into attending to what's needed. So if we notice that someone says, you just need to believe the best, and you're sensing that someone is dangerous, but someone else is telling you that, and now you're starting to feel like it's not okay for you to even notice what's happening with another person, that is going to hinder you from remaining connected to the reality of your experience and remaining connected to healthy ways of moving forward, honestly. I'm curious, how have you heard the phrase, you just need to believe the best? And what was the impact for you? I'd love to know more as I continue to dive into phrases and maybe update different videos. I have some older videos in a series called Oh, the Things We Say, and now changing the series to Say What? It's all about Christian phrases. Maybe it's scripture, maybe it's spiritual principles, or just things that we think maybe are spiritual or scriptural that aren't. But there are Christian phrases that we use, and they actually keep us stuck, hidden, and hurting. My goal is to identify what those are, how that plays out, so that we can undo the damaging effects and move into healthy ways of operating and living, connecting to ourselves so we can connect more fully to God and others. Take care.